This is why we love college sports, okay? You see, not even the biggest box office director in Hollywood can make up the script that is in place right now. This is truly a divine thing. This couldn't even be coincidence, because the way this season is about to end, we are going to have a Hollywood ending, okay? We're either going to have a team win their national championship, the first national championship in the program in over 20 years, at their home stadium in their home city, or we are going to have another team that went from irrelevant to undeniable, that went from unnamed to being the best in the world, and their starting quarterback is returning back home to play against the team that he always wanted to play for. And he's playing for a national championship in his home state where he always wanted to play. Cinema. I don't know what you're doing on the 19th. I don't know what you're doing that Monday. But if you're not watching this game, I don't know what to call. Do you not feel? Do you not have a pulse? Do you not understand what it means to be living the human experience? Because this is why we love college sports. And so now we got to figure out how we got here. We're going to break down the two games because all roads lead to Miami. So we need to figure out what got us on the path to Miami. It's been a while since I've done one of these, but I'm back and I'm going to be doing it more consistently. Welcome to another episode of The Numbers with Niles Nassim. Man, it's great to be a sports fan. Let's go. And we're back with another episode of The Numbers with Niles Nassim. And man, let's just get right into it, okay? We got to talk about the national championship scene because we have Indiana versus Miami. Listen, if you were talking to us 5 weeks ago and said that this was going to be the national championship, many of you would looked at me like I was crazy. If I was a time traveler, I came back to you 5-6 weeks ago and said, hey, it's going to be Indiana, Miami. Now, I don't think you've been too surprised by Indiana. Some people might have wanted to deny Indiana, but they've been the best team in the country all season. And some people didn't have faith because they came out of nowhere. We still want to play this whole SEC dominance, shtick. I hope that's been disproven to you by now. We wanted to sit there and say Ohio State has been more proven, quote unquote, or Oregon and other teams in the Big Ten. A lot of people just felt like Indiana came out of nowhere, which is true. But if you know that they were the best team in the nation, the most disciplined team in the nation. They were absolute marauders. They have come through and ran through everybody. No one has even come close. Maybe an exception of Ohio State when they had that low-scoring game. But even then, there was nothing that anyone can do to stop Indiana. So you probably wouldn't have been as surprised as Indiana. Now, if I told you how they got there, if I told you they were going to beat Alabama 38-3, yeah, you might be shocked by that. If I told you that they rematch Oregon and beat them 56-15. Oh, well, 56-22. The last touchdown was garbage time. Really, for the whole game, it was 56-15. If I told you that, you might be a little surprised. You just might be a little surprised. That's fine. On the other bracket, if I told you that Miami was going to do it, Miami, the at-large team, the team that was fighting for its life in the playoffs, the team that lost to Louisville and SMU earlier in the season, right? The team that we all knew was as talented as any team in the nation, okay? They got it all. Exceptional pass rush, great balanced offense, okay? They are built to the nines. Okay, everybody wants to sit there and try to make them seem like they're a regular ACC team. No. They are built like the SEC teams that you were talking about. But what they do is they make their own mistakes sometimes and they get in their own way and they drop those two games. And so now they're sitting there in that at large on the outside of the playoffs, praying to see if they can get in. Notre Dame doesn't get in. You got Texas, who had a really huge resurgence at the end of the season. You got a lot of people complaining that Miami got in. Okay, but Nick Saban told you a couple weeks ago that if Miami gets in, they are the most dangerous team in the playoff. But nobody thought they were going to go this far, right? Taking out Texas A&M at Kyle Field. Away in College Station finishing them off, then going up against Ohio State, the second best team in the country, and getting that done, then going up against Ole Miss and that high-power offense, with Ole Miss having a chip on their shoulder after Lane left and Trinidad Chambliss trying to get his 6th year and all of these storylines going in. Miami pulls out a win. On top of that, they do it off of the back of Carson Beck and his legs. And now they're staring at the barrel of winning a national championship on their home field. If you told me, right? If you told me that you would have believed me if I would have told you this national championship 6 weeks ago, I would say that you're lying. But here we are. And I wouldn't have it any other way. This is what a playoff is supposed to be. This is very reminiscent of a couple years back when Penn State went 9-2. But they were dangerous. And they had some wins on the record to where they knew that people understood that if Penn State made that 14 playoffs, they were going to ruffle some things, okay? But they couldn't make it in because you can't have a 2-loss team in, and this is why I love the 12-team playoffs. This is why I love it so much, okay? I love it so much because it allows parity to enter in there, especially with the new NIL culture that we have and talent going all over the country. Now there's no such thing as powerhouse conferences and powerhouse schools. It's anybody's game. And there's people who are actually looking at this playoff right now and have the gall to say that they would like to go back to the FBS system. Huh? What are you talking about? Not FBS, sorry, BCS. Huh? You want to go back to a computer? You want to go back to a computer? Really? That computer that heavily favored certain conferences over the other? Miami wouldn't even been close to getting into the playoffs if that computer was still here. You're telling me you want to go back to that? You know how many programs that computer screwed? How many times you had to be near perfect to even have a shot? And even if you were near perfect, if the computer didn't want to rate your conference off of its metrics, right, you still wouldn't have got in. Come on, man. Give me a break. Fans want to complain about anything. But if you want to sit here and complain about what this playoff has been, if you want to sit here and talk about what this national championship game is about to be, you're insane. Go seek therapy because this is absolute cinema. Let's go ahead and break down both games, okay? I'm going to get the absolute slaughter out of the way, okay? Because what Indiana did to Oregon was legalize murder on national television. It is actually quite sad. I felt like I was watching something illegal, okay? I felt like I should turn off the TV because this felt like when a parent whoops their child in front of guests. It just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel natural to be watching this. I shouldn't be watching this absolute shellacking, okay? This was just, what else can you say? They bent him over. Got a nice leather belt. Belt to cheeks. There's nothing else to say. There was no room for anywhere where, and you know what? Let's just cut to the chase here. Because when people talked about this game, everybody came in and said, hey, you know, it's very hard to beat someone twice in a season. Okay, yes, we know the statistics said that. But what made you think from the last time in any of Oregon's subsequent games after that they were going to beat Indiana? Nothing. They showed me nothing that made them seem like they were going to beat Indiana at all. It didn't. I thought that after the games, you know, that Indiana played, when they played Alabama, they improved. They improved. I saw that Oregon-Texas Tech game. I knew that there was going to be a mauling in place. There's no way that you thought that Oregon stood a chance. Now, you're going to sit there and say, what about Georgia, Ole Miss? Yeah, when Georgia played Ole Miss during the regular season, we understood what that was. You know, even if you're a Georgia fan, that was a close call. That was a close game. And you knew that if you saw Ole Miss again, there was a chance Ole Miss could beat Georgia because they could have beat Georgia in that game. That was anybody's ball game. Coin just happened to end up in Georgia. Guess what? You knew that whoever got that ball last in that next game was going to win that game. Ole Miss was there. You know they could have made it happen. Guess what? They made it happen. They beat them. There was something there that you can see that was tangible evidence that they could beat them. You didn't see anything from Oregon that said they could beat Indiana, and that's why they lost. And when you look at the stats, okay, Indiana had 362 total offensive yards, right? 185 rushing. 185 rushing, a buck 85. My God, Oregon wasn't going to stop Indiana if they had a toddler behind center. And they weren't, okay? They ran all over them. I mean, ran over them like those pack of, what do you call those? Pack of wildebeest ran over Mufasa in The Lion King. Absolutely stomped him out. And that's what happened. They got stomped out. Okay, not to mention they had 177 yards passing. You might say, no, well, that's a pedestrian game. Not when the quarterback goes 17 of 20 for 5 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. 17 of 20. An 80 plus percent passer completion rate. Completion percentage. 5 touchdowns? Not a single turnover? That's your Heisman winner. That's Fernando Mendoza. Dude seems like he was made in the lab. He just surgically picks apart defenses, okay? They had 18 first downs. They went 11 of 14 on third down conversions. 0 turnovers. Again, they don't make mistakes. And the problem with Indiana that you have to understand as a team is they don't make mistakes, but they capitalize off of your mistakes, which is why they had a pick 6 in the first drive of the game, which is indicative of how that game was going to go. Because once they had that pick 6, it was wraps. You could see the air get sucked out of the building. Okay, now here's Oregon. If the stats didn't say they did bad, I mean, they had 378 total yards of offense, okay, with 93 yards rushing. Not too bad. Dante Moore had 285 passing yards, okay, 24-39, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Solid game. Solid game. If I was reading that to you on paper, okay. First down, they had 20 first downs, but here's the problem. They had three turnovers. 3 turnovers, including that pick 6. They made a lot of mistakes. Indiana got after their behind, okay? That defense crushed and suffocated Dante Moore. He's a great quarterback, okay? He's a great quarterback. I'm not saying that he's not that guy. Some people watch the game and say he's not that guy. I think he is. I'm not saying he's the best. I'm not saying he's my favorite quarterback, coming out the draft, coming out this season. And I don't think he'll even be picked, right? That's a different conversation another day where he'll get picked in the draft. But the lights were very bright. And Indiana turned up the heat and gave that man some fits. Those numbers are not indicative of the actual game. Watch that actual game, and you can see he was very uncomfortable and he couldn't make anything happen. Oregon just fell flat. Dan Lanning got outcoached. This is nothing against them. They're still a phenomenal team, but there's levels to greatness. There's good, great, and there's elite. And there's good, great, elite, and then the best. And you know what? I dare say Oregon's elite, but Indiana's the best. The best team in the country. Cignetti's a madman. If he pulls off this national championship, we are talking about the greatest coaching job we've ever seen. There's never been another coach that you can say that came out of a non-Power 5 conference, went to a school like Indiana. That's a basketball school. It's a basketball state. Went to Indiana, turned the culture around in 2 years. And not just turned around in 2 years. From the first year he was there, he already took them farther than they've ever been. And now they're in the national championship. He's a madman. If you look on the sidelines during that game, he didn't even crack a smile. They were up 35-7 in halftime. You would have thought they were down 35-7, 7-35. But no. He has found a way to take these unnamed recruits, these unnamed players from JMU and other places alike, and turn them into superheroes, turn them into super athletes, turn them into specimens. He has got that team so disciplined and so, dare I say, hypnotized. They don't have a single 5-star recruit on that roster. And they beat Oregon 55-22. They probably could have put up 70 if they really wanted to. if he wins the national championship. I'm not saying he's the greatest coach of all time, but as far as coaching jobs go, you don't sit there and turn a program around in 2 years and take them to a national championship, especially a program like Indiana. This isn't something like Lane Kiffin. He's going to LSU. Yes, LSU had a down year, but you know how many people you can recruit to Baton Rouge? It's LSU. It's one of the biggest football coaching opportunities and just programs in history. It's a storied program. It's a blue blood. Yeah, you can get people to LSU. Indiana? For anything other than basketball, Indiana? He's a madman. Not to mention, his quarterback, again, like I said at the beginning of the show, Fernando Mendoza is the perfect media-trained guy where you think he's AI, but I think he's genuinely just a good guy. A good guy with a good head on his shoulders, and he understands what he needs to do to make his team better. He understands how to be a leader of men. He's a great quarterback. He's surgical. He fits perfectly in that system. He makes it work. He doesn't overdo his job. Whenever he throws a pass, he completes that pass. It finds the target and it's marked. And sometimes you got to understand that it's not every game he's going to put up 400 yards. That's okay. But he's always going to complete the target and do what he needs to do to get the team to win. During the Bama game, there was a point in the game where he had more touchdowns than incompletions. That's insane. He had more touchdowns than incompletions at a certain point in the Bama game. This was deep into the game. He's got it. Now he has the opportunity to go back home to Miami and play the school that he always wanted to go to and win a national championship. You can't make this up. You can't make this up. On to the next one. We're now going to go to Ole Miss and Miami, an all-time classic. We went from an all-time beatdown to an all-time classic. And you know what? What can I say? What can I say about this game? As a Miami fan, I still haven't recovered. My heart rate still hasn't gone down. I'm still trying to find the oxygen to breathe because, man, did this game make you hold your breath. Everything you want in a college football game this had. Miami wins 31-27. We can go over the stats. In fact, we can definitely break down the stats on all of it. But what I will say is this, okay? First of all, give Ole Miss their credit. Give Ole Miss their credit. Head coach leaves you. You're embroiled in drama. You're trying to figure out what are you going to do as far as some of your best players, if they're going to go to LSU, if they're going to stay with you. Your coaches are already halfway out the door. Yet and still you find a way. You beat Georgia after an incredible game. You almost beat Miami. Coming back, making it happen. Trinidad Chambliss is special. He's special. He's not just special for the way that you think he's special. You're going to say, oh, he's special because he can get out of the pocket. He's very creative. He can make these plays. That is why he's special. But the reason why he's also special is the fact of the matter is the stuff you don't see. It's the fact he throws the ball so doggone quick that a lot of times opposing defenses can't even get to him. Heck, we had a hard time getting to him sometimes. He gets the ball out an average of 2.3 seconds. So he doesn't even need to do a lot of the fancy stuff because before you even got to him, the ball's already halfway down the field. Special player. Coming from Ferris State. First big job. It wasn't even a start at the beginning of the season. Dude's got it. He really does got it. Lacey, another incredible player as well. Love to see what he's going to do. We can talk about this later, but I'd love to see if he actually stays at Ole Miss because if Trinidad Chambliss, I already saw that he got denied that 6 year of eligibility. If he doesn't get that injunction from the court, I think you might be seeing Lacey in Baton Rouge. But that's that. Hey, I don't want to put no speculation. But let's go ahead. And when we talk about the game, though, okay, from the Miami side, right, they had a total of 459 yards of offense. Okay, they had 191 rushing yards. They really focused on pounding the ball, really to begin the game. Mark Fletcher did a great job pounding the rock. That's where Miami is very successful at. Okay, we have weapons on the offense where we can be an air raid offense, but a lot of times, due to the nature of how Carson Beck's play style can be, sometimes we got to play safe. And sometimes we got to run that ball and make sure that we are running through the opposing team's necks, controlling the time of possession, and really making sure that we are suffocating them on offense. And they did a great job of that as well. But here's the thing. Carson Beck delivered. 268 yards, 23 of 37, 2 touchdowns. Yes, there was an interception. But when they needed that man most, he came through. Came through. Okay? In those last and final series, you saw that Mario made a considerable effort to put that ball in his hands. And what you thought was going to happen was Carson was going to be Carson. He was going to screw up. He was going to fumble. Some kind of mistake was going to happen. And yes, there were mistakes on the drive, but he kept moving the chains forward. You saw Carson these last couple of days starting to use his legs, as a crucial third down where he was able to get the first down. He got 12 yards after actually running. He's been putting his body on the line, going head first into danger. You can see there's something different in his eyes. There's something to prove. The love of the game is back. We looked at him last year. We said maybe he doesn't love the game. Maybe he's got caught up in all the spotlight, this pretty boy aesthetic. He doesn't fit this SEC gritty kind of thing that the Georgia Bulldogs kind of portray. It seems like he's embodied that more even in Miami. And something's different about him because there's this, by any means necessary, there's this ice cold-blooded killer that's going to come out to get the job done, and that's what happened. And that's why you even saw him finish the game running the ball in, which anybody can get mad at Ole Miss for not playing defense well enough to where he had that wide open lane to go and score the touchdown, but nobody was expecting that. You can't even get mad at them because who was expecting? If you would have told me that Carson Beck would have a rushing touchdown to get Miami to the national championship, I wouldn't believe you. But he made it happen. He made it happen. That's the story of Miami. They've made it happen. 41 minutes of possession time for them, okay? Now, here's the problem, all right? The penalties. 10 penalties for 74 yards, okay? As opposed to Ole Miss's 4 penalties for 34 yards. Now, we're not going to cry over Spielman as far as what the referees were doing, but there were a lot of calls that weren't being given throughout that game. And if we're being honest, I know there's going to be some of you that are going to say, that was a pass interference at the end of the game. Come on. There were a lot of calls that should have been called during that game, and anybody knows that pass interference and all that stuff, it still wouldn't have even mattered. By the way, can we also be honest? It's college. So the pass interference is not spot of the foul. It's 15 yards. So anybody that was thinking they were going to get put down to the 2-yard line or something like it's not spot of the foul. So what is the penalty going to do? They're going to have another couple seconds to air something out. At the end of the day, this is where we start to take our analysis into the national championship game, because this is where I think Miami and Indiana are going to have to, where it's going to shake down to. Indiana's the best coach team in the nation. Miami is more talented than Indiana. On paper, they are. All right. I do believe that Miami, right, has a more aggressive and talented and explosive pass rush than Indiana. But Indiana's defense is more complete. The secondary doesn't make mistakes, which is what Miami's secondary does. They rely on the pass rush heavy. They leave things open, and that's why you see us, because I am a Miami Hurricanes fan, went to the school, you see us get caught on a lot of big plays. It's just how it is. Now, can we say, has Fernando Mendoza met defensive pressure as suffocating as Ruben Bain and Akeem Mesidor? We don't know. We're going to see. We're going to see how he reacts to that. Has Carson Beck seen something like Indiana? No. Both of these teams, it's a first that they're going to be playing each other in the sense of that's this style. What is going to come down to is this. Miami can beat Indiana. They can. It's not the talent, it's the discipline. Again, Indiana did not have a single penalty in the last game or a single turnover. Miami, they don't cause cardiac canes for anything. They will give you daylight. Always. It's just how we work. We will give you daylight. We will give you a chance to win. We will give you a chance to run it up. It's up for you to take that. Simple as that. There's not much to say. The problem is when you give Indiana daylight, they will bust the door opens and leave this thing wide open. They will not look back. They will go full steam ahead. Once the ball gets rolling, you will get steamrolled, and that is the end of the game. They will have that game wrapped up by halfway through the second quarter. If Miami wants to win, they cannot have 10 penalties for 74 yards. They can't have an interception, can't have fumbles. They cannot make any mistakes. They can't. Because if they do, Indiana will slice through them, and it will be what we thought would be a cinematic Hollywood ending, which would be the game will be an absolute slaughter fest. If I was a betting man, I'd put everything that I own on Indiana. But I'm not a betting man. And I got a weird feeling about this Miami team. And I'm not being biased either. We've seen it already in what they've done throughout this. I don't know how much else they got to show you. They had an incredible bracket. Like, nothing about their bracket was easy. Texas A&M, Ohio State, Ole Miss. Okay? Not bad for an ACC team. They might just do it. Them Kings really might just pull this off and win the national championship in their home field. Something about them. But there's something about that Indiana squad, too. This is either going to be a really close game, and if it's a really close game, I think Miami pulls it out. Or this is going to be a complete blowout. And if it's a blowout, you know it's already going to be the Hoosiers. So many storylines. Like how Cignetti and Mario Cristobal are all both on Nick Saban's staff, or, you know, how Mendoza's father was Mario Cristobal's teammate in high school, and how his mom played tennis at the University of Miami, how he lived 15 minutes away from campus, going to Christopher Columbus High School. I love this game. I love this game of college football. And you know what? If this is where we're heading, I don't care how anybody else feels about NILs and how the money and what it's doing to college football, whatever you want to say. Listen, parity is here. The dynasty, the era of the dynasty is over. We don't know what's going to happen. Because the way this is looking, the way the transfer portal is opening, and how players are moving in different schools to get better opportunities, we don't even know how this is all going to work out, because teams are getting better. Some teams are getting worse. But college football feels revived. It feels fun again. And this championship game is must-see television. If you told me that Indiana-Miami would be primetime television, if you told me that Indiana-Miami would be must-see television, I would think you were high. But if you look at these teams right here, this truly is must-see television. I don't have a pick right now. But I'll tell you one thing. I may got to get on that plane and go to Miami. And if I do, I hope to see you there. Next episode is coming out real soon. We got to talk about the NFL playoffs. I mean, there's something in the water with all these football games, because every single one of them, except for this Patriots and Chargers game, I think that's happening right now as we're recording, they're going down the wire and they're putting in work. Bears beating the Packers. I mean, you got the Rams barely getting out with their lives against the Rams against the Panthers. You know, you have the Eagles losing against the 49ers, the hobble 49ers. Kittle just tore his Achilles and is out. Man, the football is looking really good right now. It's looking really good. Tune in next week. Actually, next episode is going to be dropping tomorrow after the first round of the playoffs. Tune in tomorrow for the next episode of The Numbers with Niles and I'll see you then. Let's get active. Let's get into it.